science of Bhakti Yoga is explained in the Bhagavad-gita by Krishna himself. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, with his translations and commentaries, made the Vedic teachings clear and easy to understand for people of this age. Srila Prabhupada established many centers for spiritual education worldwide.
Devata, when was your first meeting with the Hare Krishna devotees?
We had there was a Be-In in the park in Vancouver. It was a gathering there. There was a rock band or something like that, and we wanted to see the rock band. But over in the corner, there were these devotees, and the sun came out, and they were dancing, chanting, and they looked like they were from another planet. I had to go over and talk to them. And we always wanted to be in a country ashram.
I'm from Hawaii. I was raised there. My father did business there, and we had quite a kind of an opulent lifestyle, but I decided that that wasn't enough. Yeah. So I started looking for God. I saw a poster on a bakery window out in the country, and I went to this address, and there was Srila Prabhupada by himself telling us to come up, and so Srila Prabhupada was the first devotee I ever met. And he started talking about God, and in the course of his conversation he answered all of my spiritual questions, and I'd been looking for the answers in a person to help me understand.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma.
And New Vrindaban was really, really beautiful place. Even though very rustic, it was just, we actually had to walk up the 3-mile road to the old Vrindaban farm where actually Prabhupada came for the first time. We were acquiring land all the time. And now there's about 200 or 300 devotees here.
What are your earliest memories from living in New Vrindaban?
I remember when we arrived in August of 1974, we came to the farmhouse down the road. It's about 4 miles down the road, and it was called Vrindaban. That was where the temple was. The community was very simple at that time. There were maybe 30 devotees living there, maybe 40. I remember that the water was very cold. There was no hot water. There was just such a community spirit because we were all performing the same austerities. We were all going through the same austerities, so you didn't really feel like you were alone. You felt like you had a group, and we were all committed.
Well, I was born here in 1977 in what was the cow barn. Above the cows, some of the married couples would live there, and the warmth of the cows would keep the upstairs warm. I lived here from the time I was born, pretty much solid until I was 12, and then off and on until I was around 18 years old.
What was your main involvement with the community?
In the beginning it was working with Paramananda and the horses. And the horses were the power, to plow, till the fields, grow the crops of corn and hay. And to mow the hay, to gather the hay in wagons and bring it into the barn for the winter, for the cows.
When I first came to New Vrindaban, the first thing that I ran into was the cows. I got to learn how to milk a cow. We would herd the cows in the fall from the pasture down to the barn. Nice environment to live with nature and to be surrounded by the cows.
What were the highlights for you growing up in New Vrindaban?
I'd say one of the biggest highlights was the close connection that I created among my peers. Because although we were in a boarding school, which had its own challenges, lots of challenges there, the close connection and relationships that have been maintained over the years with those brothers and sisters that I developed during that time was wonderful. And also there was a lot of nature, being close to the earth, and in a spiritual environment was very nice.
Our mission statement is going back to Srila Prabhupada. New Vrindaban is the first farm community in ISKCON. And Srila Prabhupada has given us so many instructions. First is to protect cows. Second one, to be self-sufficient. Third one, to be a replica of Vrindaban or a place of pilgrimage. And the fourth one, to have education. Education for our members, for the devotees, but also for the wider world. And Srila Prabhupada says, over all that, we should love Krishna.
I first saw the devotees on the campus of Temple University here in Philadelphia. I was in my third year of graduate study, academic study of religion. I was looking for the truth, and I'd majored in philosophy as an undergraduate, and so now I was studying religion. So across the campus I saw about 4 or 5 devotees jumping up and down and chanting. And I knew they were Hare Krishnas. That was in the news and the counterculture. But I'd never seen devotees before, but I knew the mantra. So I went up to a devotee. There was one there with a little bunch of pamphlets. And I bought one from him for 50 cents. And I went home and I read it. But then a friend of mine called me up, a friend of mine from undergraduate. He says, "Hey man, there's this far out love feast. You gotta come." We went to the Sunday feast.
When did you first meet the Hare Krishna devotees?
Well, that was back in 1970. They'd come to the campus and they were chanting, they were doing kirtan on the campus. And I had previously read a book by J.D. Salinger called Franny and Zoe, it talked about a person who was interested in finding out how, what it meant in the Bible when it said you should pray constantly. And so they said that you had to chant this Jesus prayer. So I started chanting the Jesus prayer, and then just a few days later I met the devotees and they told me about chanting, the Hare Krishna mantra. And they said, "Oh yeah, that's the same thing."
Well, my commitment became very strong when I got a hold of the Ishopanishad, Prabhupada's translation. I had already studied Ishopanishad, academic religious courses, and nobody knew what it meant. And so here was Prabhupada with something I'd already read before, with his commentary. It was very simple and very clear. And by the end, I was convinced he understood the issue of Upanishad. The Hare Krishnas had a very sophisticated theology. It was that interesting combination that you don't usually see in religion. It's either sentimentality or it's this kind of aloof academic stuff that has no feelings.
Gopinath, Mama niveda nessuno, Vishai Durjana, Sada Kamarata, Kichanai Moraguna, Gopinath, Hamara Varasatumi, Tomara Charane, Loinu Sharana, Tomara Kinkorami, Gopinath.
Drexel University. It was in 1995, and some devotees came and did a program at our campus. And I was amazingly attracted to the kirtan. When I approached the devotees afterwards, they invited me to come to the temple here. I'm originally from this area, not about 20 minutes away. I grew up. I stayed in this area. I liked it. I graduated from college, got a job, continued just to do seva here constantly. Before I was married, I used to come and do the morning program.
You are also involved in the preaching at Govinda's restaurant and the city center in Philadelphia.
There's a devotee, Haryashra. He took interest in me and took care of me. He took time, answered the questions that I had, and I wanted to be, of service. I wanted to reciprocate with them. It was actually there that I went for the first time before I came to the big temple. So we do several outreach programs there.
The Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology was founded by Bhakti Swami back, I guess, about 1990. It actually grew out of an organization he founded called Urban Spiritual Development. So actually the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology was to provide a kind of a bridge to a more formal temple setting, a whole different Vedic culture, which a lot of Westerners were unfamiliar with. So we had deities, we had programs, but it was in a more family-oriented environment. Have the association with devotees.
Like you, for one who's living what is called a purpose-driven life. Okay, so I can't play basketball.
Every Saturday we have morning programs. We have a core group of people who come together. We have kirtan and then class. After that we have a brunch. Sometimes we have new people coming. Bhakti Swami Maharaj emphasized on relationships, on care for each other and devotional life. I try to reflect inwards and see how I could have done something differently to have the outcome different than it presents. And I try to sort of reflect on that. I try, I try. It's not always easy.
What saddens me the most is, well, actually it's all sad. Material life means being tortured by 6 enemies: pride, illusion, lust, anger, greed, and envy. What really makes me happy, seeing people that I love happy. That when this service and in serving the people I love is based on ultimately pleasing Krishna and making Krishna happy, then they are the most happy and I get the most fulfillment. I think material life is a life where people are looking for happiness but have an idea of what really makes them happy as human beings. How to go about finding it. What is the process of discovering happiness?
Well, I moved to the US in 2000 and met a devotee quite soon afterwards who invited me to see his guru, which I did, and I was convinced about the philosophy. And later in 2009, I connected with a temple in Laguna Beach and joined there. And then I desired some further education and study some scripture. And the temple president here is Vrindaban, and he's a great scholar. So that's why I came here. And I especially like guest reception. So when people come in, sometimes we have new guests who know this building for years, and somehow one day they walk in, and I explain some of the philosophy to them, give them a book, and they really like it.
I work outside, I have a job in engineering, so when I get a chance to talk to a devotee on the phone, sometimes I'll bump into a devotee on the street, right away that remembrance of Krishna comes back. And I remember what the goal of life is. Surrender to Krishna. They remind me of Krishna. That's probably the most inspiring thing to me.
It's very important for me to live in the association of other devotees. In spiritual life, we go through a process of purification. So especially when it gets a little difficult, to have others around who go through the same process and who are enthused at different times. So their enthusiasm then inspires me to keep on going. Srila Prabhupada especially inspires me through his books. And I love the Bhagavad-gita as it is. And it's that philosophy that brought me to this movement. That every time I read it, I become enthused. And always fresh and new. And that is real transcendental knowledge. That it never grows old, it's ever fresh, and it's always invigorating. And that's what inspires me to do my service.
Not even a little bit? Well, one thing that I've been doing recently, which is really wonderful, is that every Thursday a small group of us have been reading things like the Krishna book and little Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And just when it's a small group of people, it's not formal, so many thoughts and ideas, and it's a wonderful way just to associate and really experience a deep level of Krishna consciousness, and I really like that.
If we are well situated in our own spiritual practices, we will be advancing in spiritual life. Therefore, we will have hope. Things will not seem so bad because we're advancing. Prabhupada gave us certain facilities for remaining in good Krishna consciousness, and most of the time you can arrange to do that, and that will keep you together.